Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Dave, Season 1, Episode 1, The Gander. This is the show where I break down every episode of the FX TV show Dave, which you can also find on Hulu. There are currently 2 seasons available, so you can binge all 2 seasons. The 3rd season is rumored to start to be released at some point this year. I don't even think they've started filming it yet, but there, from what I've heard, is going to be a 3rd season of Dave, and it will be coming out this year. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But until then, I mean, I'll probably be done breaking down all 20 episodes of the first 2 seasons before it comes out, but that is what I'm going to be doing. So if you have not watched the TV show Dave, it is a comedy. It is written by Dave Bird, who is known as Little Dicky. He is a comedic rapper, satirical rapper. And this is a show that came out. The first season was gigantic, which obviously led to a 2nd season, which tonally was quite a bit different. And continues on to a 3rd. I really enjoy this. I've reviewed the first 2 seasons separately on other episodes, so if you want to go check out what my overall review is of the first season and 2nd season, you can do that as well. But in this one, I am going to be spoiling. I'm going to be talking about every single episode. So if you don't want to be spoiled, get out of here. Go check out tomorrow's episode, or go back and check out my reviews. But that's what I'm doing, episode by episode. And if you want to follow along and watch the episodes as I review them, they are available over on Hulu with the Hulu/FX releases. This is an FX show. But starting off with Dave, Season 1, Episode 1, we are introduced to our main character, Dave Bird, as he is in the doctor's office, describing... He's there to get his pubiscus region looked at because he's got some bumps he is worried about. He's describing all of the issues with his penis in this scene. Hilarious scene. Just describing all of the botched things that happened to his penis. He's got over-circumcised, and they tried to fix it, so now it's... His dick looks like a mishmash of different skin parts, and he's worried and he's concerned, and the doctor just says it's razor bumps. It is not herpes. And Dave, they're like so many people, we live in a time with WebMD or even celebrity doctors like Joe Rogan and Dr. Drew and Dr. Oz, where, you can kind of, if you want to believe something to be true, you can look upon these people and they will most likely give you the answers you want. But those answers may not be actual science, may not be based on anything. And a lot of the research people do, who are not doctors, they are not scientists, they are just comedian rappers in a doctor's office doing their own quote-unquote research. Despite Dave's research, the doctor contradicts his own diagnosis with that of just razor bumps, which, it is what it is. But when it comes to Dave's acne, the doctor has no help for him and just offers to refer him to another doctor, another specialist, as it were. So that's how the beginning of Dave, the TV show, begins, with this scene where we are introduced not only to Dave Bird, but we're introduced, at least through words. It's the theater of the mind, really. You really get an impression of what mangled mess Dave's dick must look like from this scene. Next, we're seeing Dave walking into a studio session, recording session, with some tuna sandwiches. YG happens to be in the studio session with his crew. Tuna sandwiches stinking up the place. But this is where we meet Dave's friend Els, who is a sound engineer, and he's the one working with YG in the studio trying to lay down some tracks. But Dave interrupts with his stinky sandwiches of tuna. Stinky tuna sandwiches. They have a back and forth. Dave's like, you told me I can come. You told me I can come by and hang out and and kind of mingle and kind of network, because Dave wants to be a rapper. Els is like, kind of he's got a toe in the industry as an engineer. But that's not what he meant. He's like, just hang out in the lobby. Hang out, talk to people in the lobby. Don't just walk into a session with smelly sandwiches. So Dave goes into the lobby, and this is where we meet GaTa for the first time. As Dave opens his laptop up, he's playing his hit song, My Dick Sucks. 15 million plus views so far on YouTube. GaTa recognizes the song, recognizes who Dave is, and that is where the seed has been planted. The seed of friendship has been planted. And they're both there to... GaTa's there to... He's the plug for YG's manager. So he's trying to get in on his way. Dave's trying to get in on his way. They're both rappers. GaTa's a rapper as well. And they're both hanging out, trying to schmooze and, see if they can get on some tracks, get them on some of their tracks, vice versa. The grind, as it were, being a hip-hop artist in today's world. One of YG's guys comes out thinking Dave is like some kind of gopher guy, some kind of assistant that goes shopping for him. Asks him to go get some snacks. Dave is confused. Obviously, before that, I should say, there's a little weed conversation between the two of them. Dave is a little bit more of likes to wait on the weed, likes to smoke weed at the end of the day, not necessarily something he partakes in throughout the day, kind of has a negative view on himself, would have a negative view on himself if he smoked weed midday as opposed to at night. So the YG's guy comes out, wants some snacks. GaTa diffuses it. And Dave, and GaTa go to some convenience store around the corner. And they're going back and forth, and you get to see GaTa's kind of style. You get to see GaTa's very fun, unique way of speaking. And also advice. Like, GaTa is like the hip-hop version of Ted Lasso. He's got, like, amazing one-liners. Swag ain't in you. It's not on. No, swag ain't on you. It's in you is a great one. And it's all about the Gander, just making yourself look like you're somebody to be, like you're meant to be there. Dress like you're the job you want to have, I guess, is kind of the fashion. You have to, but from GaTa's perspective, you got to look the part before you become the part. Fake it till you make it. But the way GaTa says it is the coolest. He's like, he brings a level of coolness, some hip hop cultural coolness to Dave's nerdy Jewish rap sensibilities. Right? Gives an extra flavor to the pot of the Dave Bird show. The Many Faces is an ongoing abstract ink portrait series that I started many years ago. I release a new face every day, but go to inspireddisorder.com to check them out. So many available. But as a listener to The Ray Taylor Show, you can save 10% when you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out. So go to inspireddisorder.com/TMF, that stands for The Many Faces. Go check them out, browse the entire collection, and when you decide on a piece, or maybe multiple pieces, make sure you use coupon code INSPIRED when you check out, and you'll save 10%. As a big thank you for checking out my work, for collecting my work, and for listening to The Ray Taylor Show. And with that said, let's get back to the show. So they go get the snacks. Nothing comes from it. It doesn't really get either of them in the door. Cut to later on in the evening. We're introduced now to Dave is back at his home, his apartment, with his girlfriend, Allie, who is a kindergarten teacher. His, I think, roommate, potentially, Mike. Definitely they're friends. Mike is like a day trader guy, works in stocks and bonds, and he's got a business degree or whatever. That one Mike is played by Andrew Santino, stand-up comedian. Allie is played by Taylor Misiak, and Els, GaTa is GaTa. Els is Travis Bennett, and those are the people we've met so far. Back at home, Dave is smoking his weed, as he said to GaTa. It's something he likes to do at the end of the day. This being the end of the day, he's smoking weed, kind of getting turned on by his girlfriend grading papers, which makes Mike, not happy, makes him nauseous on some level. And in that, so Dave wants to get YG on one of his tracks. And while they were in the lobby at the recording studio, GaTa hooked him up. He's like, here, I got the number for Nutty. It's YG's manager. I also put my name in your phone, so now you got both our contacts. Dave shot a message to Nutty about getting YG on his tracks, and he heard back that night while hanging out with his girlfriend. They're both taking out the trash. He gets a text back that he'll do it for 10 grand. And Dave's all excited. And we find out in that moment that Dave has never rapped for his girlfriend. Dave is probably the only rapper in existence to have not shared his raps with everybody before anything happens. My experience with the many people in my life that have been rappers, they love to share their work, no matter what stage of the process they're in. I've never met, they're probably out there, obviously. That's probably why I've never heard their raps, but it seems to be very rare to have somebody wanting to be an entertainer, but being very secretive, especially with their girlfriend. Their girlfriend never hearing him rap, like he's never rapped before in front of her. Kind of crazy. But he failed to do it. She was trying to give him a kindergarten beatbox, and he couldn't do it. He couldn't bring himself to do it. See where we're at right now. So 10 girth. So the next day, Dave goes to the bank, right? Because he's got to get 10 grand to pay YG to be on his track. A lot of money. It's going to be all of Dave's money. He calls his parents because the money that he's going to use is his bar mitzvah money, and he doesn't want them to freak out. So this is the scene where we are introduced to Dave Bird's parents, who are amazing as well. His dad, Don, is played by David Paymer. His mom, Carol, is Gina Hetch. Or Hecht, I believe. Both great. They play, these sweet old Dave Bird, mom and dad. They don't understand what YG means. Is it like YG? Is it a question? Is it maybe an Asian name? Very confused, very funny. But Dave, mentions not only that he's going to get the money, and they're like, well, what about this song that you got? Why aren't you making money off of the songs that you've already done? And the song the My Dick Sucks song that's got 15 million views, if he was monetizing on his YouTube page, which I would imagine he has the followers and all the criteria that would allow him to monetize his YouTube page, why isn't that video, which probably would have given him at least a few $1,000s, why wouldn't that be monetized? And the reason being, one of the trends in hip hop is that people use beats that aren't theirs, or they don't have licensing ability to use and to monetize, to make money off of. And that's the issue. It's not his beat. And his parents don't understand that. They don't understand, well, why are you stealing beats, son? It's a funny scene. And even when he goes up to the counter to tell the clerk the business that needs to be wired the $10,000, every aspect of it seems ridiculous. Every aspect seems kind of sketchy as well. So next we see Dave and Mike and Els at a mini golf where Dave is talking about, the money that he spent and that he hasn't heard anything. Nutty went dark after the money was transferred. There's also a scene where he's with his girlfriend and she is mad that he tweeted that that Little Dicky just got head from his girlfriend. And there's this conversation that Little Dicky has with his girlfriend, Allie, about how Little Dicky is like a character that he's doing and that it's not truthful things. Like he's tweeting as if he's a character. And it's just planting the seed of like, oh, there's like, he is living a different life as Little Dicky. Not living a different life, but there's like this alter ego, this character that he's living. Almost, there's a lot of, I would imagine a lot of rappers have similar things where there's like a lot of rappers that they have, most of their music is about like they're doing gangster rap, but they grew up like privileged in like a upper middle class kind of home or whatever. There's a level of fiction that comes along with hip hop in a lot of ways when it comes to your branding, quote unquote. And Lil Dicky's branding is being immature, funny, kind of childish, all of those types of things, kind of an Arrested Development type of a situation. But Allie, not happy. Also not happy with the fact that her mom sees the tweet and thinks that, that her boyfriend is just tweeting out every time she gives head. It's like something she doesn't want in her mom's head to think about. But it is what it is. There's the beginning of some tension between Allie and Dave as far as his Lil Dicky persona versus Dave Bird, the man himself. But later he confesses while they're in bed. He comes and confesses that he spent all this money to get YG on his track Girth. But ever since he sent the money, that he hasn't heard anything back, and that he just got done crying, and like really opens up to the reality of what's going on. Like you can put aside the theatrics of the blowjob tweet, and it's like, well, listen, this is what's really happening. If you want to know the reality, I kind of did this thing, and I think I may have fucked up. And she, offers to give him some belly rubs, which, like, I love their relationship. She seems like an amazing girlfriend, despite the fact that Lil Dicky is, takes advantage, or just isn't, at times has disrespect or a lack of respect or lack of empathy for what his character persona says and does. But anyway, he gets his belly rubs. Join Inspired Disorder Plus today. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus to join. Membership includes members-only discounts and deals. You get access to the Ray Taylor Show completely ad-free, as well as bonus episodes. You get access to the complete live painting archive. You also get access to every single podcast ever produced by Inspired Disorder, hosted by Ray Taylor. You get access to Ray Taylor's personal blog, as well as the opportunity to ask me any questions. So if you want to start a podcast, you're into art, ask me anything. And so many more things are being added every day to Inspired Disorder Plus. So sign up today, become a member, head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and become an Inspired Disorder Plus member today. Next day, he's at lunch or whatever with Mike, and Mike's going on about how he didn't have any contracts, just how shady the whole situation, because Mike is like the business guy. He is the day trader guy. He's the guy that with the business degree, and obviously just wiring some random person $10,000 in the hopes that the artist that he manages will perform on your track without any documentation or paperwork is insane, especially since you spend your life savings, $10,000, to make it happen. So he's kind of going off, basically being the voice of reason in a lot of ways. Like, this dude set you up, and you got this connection to Nutty through this guy named GaTa. Like, you're dealing with people that don't even have real names, which my personal I've had friends that have the kind of the fake rapper name and the real name, and they're referred to as the rapper name. It's weird to have a friendship with somebody that you don't know if you're talking to the real person or if you're talking to the character person, because so much of their life is the character person, and then you have it just feels like there's an inconsistency with who they are at times. And that's just another thing that Lil Dicky is having, Dave is trying to deal with, and Mike is wanting to wake him up to the fact that he potentially just threw away 10 grand on something. So Dave wants to go confront GaTa, because GaTa, he got the number from GaTa, so it's like maybe there's this whole thing. And he asks, he asked Mike to go with him. He doesn't want his girlfriend. She's at the lunch as well. He doesn't want her to go with her because it'd look weird for the rapper to show up with his girlfriend. And then Mike's like, oh, so you should show up with your muscle. Mike obviously assuming that he is the muscle in the situation, which I guess out of the three of them, he's the muscle. He is the bigger, physically larger person than Dave Bird and obviously his girlfriend. But cut to, you see Dave driving down to South Central with Els, his nerdy black friend from the sound engineer Els. So they're driving up, pull up to GaTa's house. GaTa surprised to see them. GaTa always has, like, he's got an admiration for Lil Dicky. He has like instant respect for Lil Dicky and what he's doing, for Dave, for what he's doing and what his potential is. Like, GaTa is positivity, and he's super stoked that honored that Lil Dicky showed up to his mom's house in South Central. So they go in, they introduce themselves. GaTa's working on his mom's hair. She thinks that Els is the rapper, but then, is clearly set straight and instantly understands the type of rap that Lil Dicky does, which feels from his perspective like it's something that he's constantly having to explain to people, which he probably gets tired of explaining, I would imagine. Explaining the type of art you do to people is like, for me personally, not being a rapper but just being an artist in general, having to explain what it is you do to somebody is tough. But for somebody to instantly get it is great. So GaTa's mom is instantly on Dave's side, but a little offense is made when Dave, is questioning GaTa's loyalty and why, all of a sudden Nutty disappeared, just went dark. But of course, Nutty got a new number, so GaTa hits him with the new number, and immediately they get a text back that YG is in the studio. So GaTa and I guess all of them head, since Els is the producer, they all head to the studio, which I don't know why they were in the studio. Just thinking about that right now, is if Els is the engineer for this guy, then why? Maybe there's another engineer working at the time. Either way, they all head there. GaTa is not allowed in the room. Just Lil Dicky's allowed in the room where YG's got his crew. You see Dave hanging out for a while where they're going through stuff, little montage of smoking weed, kind of just trying to, find a place to sit. Almost sits on a stack of guns that's strewn over this chair. And then they get to a point where he's like, well, what am I doing here? He's like there for a while. He's like, I want to do this thing, and he's got it. They want him to prove himself. They want him to rap for them. And Lil Dicky's like hesitant to do it. And YG's like, listen, I'm going to put you on my Instagram. So why don't you rap? I'll put you on my Instagram. So then we see for the first time in the show, obviously it's the end of the first episode, we see Dave, Lil Dicky doing a freestyle, which is great, which I'd like to drop a clip right here. We'll see if that happens. I would like to do some audio clips for this show, and maybe I should pick them out before I record so I know when I'm going to drop them. But I love the freestyle that he does. It's like going into this show, I was familiar with Lil Dicky, saw him on World Star a bunch of times. You see him on radio shows and things doing stuff, and you realize how fun he is and how good he is. And it's a really fun little performance that he does. And as soon as the IG video is done recording, the YG video is done recording, YG's like, oh, we need to get out of here. We got to go to, I think he's going to Europe for a little tour or whatever. So they did not work at all on Girth. And Lil Dicky's not happy because he's still paid 10 grand. They're blowing him off. All they did was he rapped for them. He performed for them. So he follows them out to the parking lot, and he's tapping on the hood before they leave. He's like, listen, you guys, I paid my life savings to get YG on my track. I paid everything I have to get you on my track, this Girth track, and now you're leaving. And he gets a promise from YG. I think it was YG, not his manager, but he gets a promise that when they get back that they'll work on it. And of course, after they leave, Dave's phone starts blowing up because the rap that he did on IG for YG is going viral. GaTa is super excited. It's like, this is way better than getting him on a track, dude. You basically had him, YG basically directed a music video for you, which is a very generous way to describe what happened, the reality of what happened. But like I said, GaTa is he not only looks for the silver lining in things, he finds the silver lining, he buffs that shit out and makes it shiny as possible to where the silver lining almost blinds you from that dark cloud that you were seeing, which is great. It's a great, like I said, he's like the hip-hop's Ted Lasso. Got great one-liners, positive as fuck, and always he wants the best out of everybody. So yeah, so that is, and then Dave, way too high to drive home, asks GaTa to drive him, and they make plans to hang out the next day. So you're seeing, at the end of this, you're seeing the friendship between GaTa and Dave kind of really take hold, and they're both, GaTa's trying to do the same thing. He wants to get on tracks and be a rapper just like Dave. So it's there's a mutual respect there. But that's episode 1 of The Gander from Dave. Next week will be the second episode of Dave, obviously, which is entitled Dave's First. So until next Tuesday, that has been my breakdown, my just a hilarious. It's weird doing an episode breakdown of a comedy. It's a funny show. And I really appreciate it. And it's almost every end, the very last line of every of every episode is like the greatest punchline. But anyway, Dave's First is next episode. Until then, Dave, check it out. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at inspireddisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.